Well, we're back now, and we hope to get another perspective on guns and this whole problem that the country is passing. With us this morning, former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich and Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee. Congresswoman Blackburn, but you actually like to be called Congressman, don't you?
Congress Marsha.
Congress Marsha.
You know, whatever works.
All right, well, you heard Dianne Feinstein.
Sure.
Ms. Blackburn, and you heard Ray Kelly. What's your take on that?
My take is, first of all, we need to make certain we keep children safe. And that's what we want to do. But I got to tell you, when I hear some of this conversation, I think that we're looking at symptoms. We're not looking at the root causes. And I've talked with a lot of teachers, classroom teachers, after the Sandy Hook situation. And they say, look, we need to be looking at mental health. We need to be looking at the root causes, some of these psychotropic drugs, and not let this be about the weapon. But let's talk about some of the root causes in these issues. And I understand the senator's passion for this, but I got to tell you, an assault ban is not the answer to helping keep people safe.
Do you think it's the answer, Speaker?
Well, as the New York commissioner said, the overwhelming problem for him is handguns. Not assault weapons are about 2%. But I also think the term assault weapon is propaganda. Any true military weapon is illegal. Has been illegal since 1934. If somebody's using an AK-47, they're using an illegal weapon because it is an automatic weapon. We do not allow people to buy automatic weapons unless they have a very strict collector's license. And that's been true now for almost 80 years.
But these are rapid-fire weapons.
You pull the trigger and fire the shot.
They're not machine guns, but they're rapid-fire.
Every pistol does that. The person who killed the most people at Virginia Tech used 2 pistols. The fact is that every political attack from John F. Kennedy to the present has involved a weapon which would be legal under Senator Feinstein's law. I mean, pistols, you go to Chicago, the murder capital of the United States, and neither the House nor the Senate has gone and held hearings, but they ought to find out, how did over 500 people die last year? They weren't assault weapons. And I think that this is a serious question of where we ought to have the courage to look at facts, not create propaganda.
I agree with you, Ms. Blackburn, that I think that mental health needs to be a part of this. I think it's got to be a comprehensive plan of some sort. But I also wonder, I mean, don't we have to find some way just to reduce this access to guns that some of these people have? I mean, you know, if the guy had walked into the Connecticut school with a baseball bat, he could have put some bumps on a couple of people's heads, but I don't think that many people would have been
Well,
killed.
you know, I think that there again, you look at the safety issues. Some of the school districts in my congressional district are looking at resource officers and how they secure that environment. But, you know, the Speaker is right. You look at what is actually causing the problem. This means you look at the weapons that are there. You do some hearings that are on that have occurred in some of these areas like Chicago where they have a problem. You look at the mental health issues, you look at the psychotropic and psychiatric drugs that a lot of the youth are taking, that individuals that have committed these crimes are taking. You look at the violence that is there in entertainment and video games, and don't just go say we're going to do an assault weapons ban and that's going to solve the problem, because it is not going to get to the root of the problem.
How did the two of you feel about background checks? Do you think that would be helpful?
Well, we have background checks now. I think there are a substantial number of felons who have actually applied to buy a gun. The Obama administration, to the best of my knowledge, has prosecuted virtually none of them.
But there are no background checks at gun shows,
no,
right?
But let's start with what I just said, Bob. We already have a background check if you go to a regular gun dealer. A gun dealer who's at a gun show, in fact, does a background check.
That's right.
If he's an authorized dealer. All of those folks already fill out the paperwork. It goes to federal government. And I think there's something, don't hold me to this, but I think there are 70,000 cases of people who were convicted felons trying to buy a gun who were turned down. It's illegal to apply to buy a gun if you're a convicted felon. I think this administration has prosecuted virtually none of them. So they already have the data. They're not doing anything with it. What I'm fascinated with is there's a perennial desire to make the innocent have a more complicated life because of a handful who are the guilty, rather than focusing on the guilty.
But you still have, at the end of the day, you have these awful things that happen, and they happen over and over. They seem to happen more and more. Aren't we going to have to find out, and aren't we going to have to get serious about doing something about this?
Well, absolutely. You do, because you want to make certain that people are safe in public places. You want to make certain that children are safe at school. But, Bob, I've got to tell you, doing a so-called assault weapons ban is going after a symptom. And as teachers have said to me, don't focus on whatever is the weapon. Get to the root cause. Look at some of these mental health issues. Look at some of these drugs that are involved in this. Look at some of the violence that is permeating this society. Teachers, parents are all saying, you know, you need to drill down on this a little deeper, be a little bit more thoughtful on it. And you know, I'm with the speaker. Why should law-abiding citizens be compromised because you've got some bad actors over here that are not complying?
I think it would be very compelling. There are a finite number of mass murderers in the last 25 years. A series of hearings that started with actually evaluating these people. Who are they? You know, I just sat through a wonderful report by the author of Rawhide Down, in which he talked about Reagan being shot by a .22 pistol, by the way. The reason Hinckley shot him is he wanted to get Jodie Foster's attention. Now, I mean, you look at these kind of things, and the guy who killed people tragically in Newtown was using his mother's guns, so the background check wouldn't have done any good. The young man in New Mexico who killed his family tragically had actually been given the guns by his father to protect the family. I mean, I think we have to look at what's really going on and not just rush into a 20-year-old idea that didn't work. By the way, gun murders have gone down since the assault weapons ban ended. There are fewer gun murders today with the ban having ended.
I'm going to ask both of you to stick around because I want to talk to you about the Republican Party and how it's trying to rethink what it is and where it goes from here. But we'll do that on page 2.